Good afternoon, everyone. And on behalf of everybody here at INSOM, I am delighted to welcome you to the first session in our INSOM 2019 Fall Webinar Series. This presentation is entitled Maze Runner, the Cure for Apex Confusion. My name is Marc Rouel from the INSOM marketing team, and I'll be your moderator. And our series producer is Marc-André Brassard. So let's quickly begin. Please note that your mics are muted, and we'll be taking questions in the question panel. And you can also chat in the chat panel, and we'll answer questions as we go along. Our presenter today is Jorge Rimblas. Mr. Rimblas has been an Oracle database professional since 1995 and has accumulated over 20 years experience, mostly in the Oracle applications implementation and customization arena. Since 2008, however, he has focused exclusively on Oracle Apex. In addition, he has successfully managed and mentored developers in various projects in industries such as automotive, food, healthcare, logistics providers, financial services, manufacturing, retail sectors, and more. Jorge is a well-known speaker at Oracle-themed conferences. In 2016 and 2017, he served as the Apex Content Track Lead at ODTUG Kscope. In 2018 and 2019, he was the Content Chair at the same event, and was responsible for database and Apex track content. And now let's begin. Jorge, the floor is yours.
Thank you for that intro, Mark.
You're listening to Maze Runner, the cure for Apex Confusion.
All right, we have a little tiny intro there for this session. How many sessions you attend that have an intro? Okay, so first I want to mention that this was a session I worked in conjunction with Jackie McElroy, and I want to still give her credit because we both collaborated on putting this together. We wanted this session to be sort of a reference that people could use over time. Let me just mention that you can get to the slides, so you don't have to take notes on this immediately. If you go to slides.com/rimblas/maze-runner, you go to that URL, you have the presentation, and it's full of links. The whole presentation is a directory of sorts of useful links that you can use over time. And if for some reason you don't have the best resolution or internet connection, you can add /live, and you can see the slides move as I move them along. So if you've been working with Apex for a while, you've realized that there's many ways to get information. There are lots of places, there's lots of resources, and the goal of this session is to try to find a way to compile them all together and avoid that confusion. And this happens whether you're very new to Apex or you've been working with it for a while. I think even if you have some experience, you may find some useful knowledge in this presentation. So that's the objective, for you to have a reference point of how to learn and navigate through Apex knowledge a lot better. This is a USS Constitution, and this ship, if I should ask, maybe some of you with a webinar, I can't see your faces, but I would think that some of you are old enough to remember Mad Magazine, a comics magazine from the 70s and 80s. And for those that don't, it's just full of jokes and funny stuff, right? So there was an ad on Mad Magazine that said, "Get yourself the USS Constitution," and you're like, "Well, that's awesome. I want that." And you go and purchase the package, the kit for the USS Constitution, and when the kit gets delivered, you would get your knife and your block of wood. And that was your package for the USS Constitution. And I don't know about you, but without some experience, that's kind of what you end up with. Instead of the USS Constitution, you kind of end up with this little thing. So it's all about knowledge, right? And it's the same block of wood, but what's the difference, right? It's just knowledge and knowing where to get information and how to do things. So just a funny reference of how can we achieve things. So first thing, you should know that if you go to apex.oracle.com, you can get a free instance where you can start kicking the tires of Apex, working with Apex, and using the latest release. But there's a whole lot more in there. Right from there, when you go to that website, you can follow the Learn link. You can see information about getting started, documentation, education, tutorials, books and articles, videos. I should also mention that in the presentation, all of these blue texts, they're links. And when you click on them, you will open a browser to go into that exact reference. Okay, so that's why I wanted to share that presentation immediately with you, because everything in this presentation is a live web page with full of links. So one of the first things you may want to know is that if you're good at learning by yourself, if you go to apexoracle.com/education, you get to a page that kind of looks like this. And if you click on the first few links, you go to the instructor-led courses, which are the classes provided by Oracle. But what you may not realize is what you really want. If you're a self-learner and you don't want to spend any money, you can go to the bottom. That bottom link will get you to the official curriculum and hands-on labs for learning Apex. Now, what's really cool is that content just got updated to Apex 19.1. So you can start learning the very latest. Also, that curriculum comes with a permissive use license. That means it can be used for any use you want. Even you can even teach classes with that curriculum. In fact, I've met somebody that in Toronto that's using it for a technical college, and they're teaching Apex to multiple. They've teach Apex to multiple students using this curriculum. If you go to /HOLS, the hands-on labs, that gives you the step-by-step instructions for the exercises. So that's also a very useful place. Now, there's also something called the Oracle Learning Library. And this is loading a little bit slow here. There. In the Oracle Learning Library, there's not a whole lot of Apex content, but you may still want to know about it. There's a lot of really good Oracle stuff. You can search here for Apex and find information, and it will keep track. It will tell you how long the mini course is. This percent is your completion. How far along have you gone? Is it advanced or beginner? And it's a great way to also learn by yourself. You can also get certified if you think you know enough Apex to get a certification and put that on your curriculum. You go to /certification. The link is actually fairly complicated. That's why it's super nice to have this shortcut. When you click on that, you get routed to the actual place where you can sign up to get your voucher, and depending on your area, you'll have different prices to pay for the class. So certification. Have you guys heard of office hours? Office hours is a fabulous service that Oracle started, and basically it's free training, how-tos, Q&A with Oracle experts. Every month there's several several office hour sessions that are happening. If you click on this link here on the bottom, you can get to the previous recordings. All of them are recorded. So you can see here that on September 3rd, there was a JavaScript and Oracle and the Oracle Database office hours. And you can see who was presenting, and you can search for the topics. And of course, if you recognize this, it's an Apex application that keeps track of all those sessions. And it's not just about Apex. The office hours It's kind of arranged by departments, if you will, where you can learn about different areas. And of course, you have the ones with Connor McDonald on database administration, Apex led by Joel Kalman, in charge of the Apex team, PL SQL led by Stephen Feuerstein, Dan McGann with JavaScript and things with Oracle, and so on. So lots of interesting topics here. I recommend also the one from Chris Saxon on exploring SQL. Oh, and of course, as Apex professionals, we're working more and more with JSON. So those are really, really good sessions as well. What's interesting about office hours is the format does allow for asking questions and discussions and a little bit of back and forth with the presenters. So I highly recommend those. Lots of cool stuff in there. If you need to start planning out for presentations, there's this website called clockwise.org, no K on clock, and it's for your Oracle conferences that are coming up. These are Oracle in general, not necessarily Apex, but again, many of these have Apex tracks. And for example, this conference, Apex Alpe Adria, just came online. It's happening in April in Slovenia, and it's from people from Austria, Slovenia, and, well, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the other country, but they all can converge. They're very close. And of course, if you're in Europe, that would be a very easy conference for you to attend. This is more for requests for papers, a website. But I find it good if you're planning your events for the next year and you need to have a budget. It's a good place to have an idea of what conferences are coming up. So many of you may want your own local environment to work with. And you have options. You could use a virtual machine or containers. VirtualBox is a free product from Oracle that allows you to do the virtualization and get a VM running locally on your machine. And on Twitter, for example, we got this information that came out that a VM with Apex 19.1 was made available, and it has a full Oracle Linux database 19.3. Comes pre-configured with SQL Developer, Apex, REST, XMLDB, data modeler, and so on. By the way, all of these Twitter links are also clickable. You click them and you get to see the actual twit conversation on those. So this happened as of June 20. And as things happen, we'll try to keep some of these things updated on the presentation. So talking some more about the VMs, you use a VirtualBox. You will download this big file, and then you basically open it and create your virtual machine from that. It's fairly easy to follow the steps. For those that are more on the DBA side and you use Vagrant, you can also, supported by Oracle, there's now scripts on GitHub. This is really interesting. So this is a GitHub account from Oracle that has scripts on Vagrant. Vagrant basically automatically configures and sets up your environments on a VM. So it really automates the steps. You can also use Docker. So Docker is a container technology, and there's a nice write-up from my colleague Martin D'Souza on Docker Oracle setup. And basically that document takes you step by step. You can see here the table of contents of setting up your directory structure, setting up the containers. Right now, it's been updated to Apex 18.1 and 5.1 and 5.04, but I've installed it successfully for other versions of Apex just following these directions. It is fairly involved. I'm not gonna lie to you, it does take a little bit because you're doing a lot of things. But what's super interesting is that you can have multiple versions of Apex in one single Oracle database. So the way that Docker is those Docker instructions are configured is that you're going to have a PDV for each of your Apex versions. So you can have a VM on your laptop where you can have all sorts of versions of Apex. If you are developing plugins, for example, or need to test multiple versions, for plugins, this is a great way to test your plugins on different versions and be able to export them on the earliest version that you want to support. So this is a really cool technology. Let me know if you have any questions as we're going along. So where do you get answers? So I'm gonna tell you Twitter, but I know that some of you think that when I say Twitter, you kind of think this ugly thing that is just nasty and just lots of crap. But let me try to change your mind. First, this is a hashtag. So the ORCL Apex hashtag has become the community standard for referencing Twitter information that's related to Apex. If I click on this, even if you don't have a Twitter account, notice this is public information. So even if you don't have a Twitter account, you can go and search. And here's where the search happened. It's searching by ORCL Apex. And you can see all these tweets. And as you know, Oracle Open World is going on. So lots of announcements here, but also lots of information about Apex 19.2 being available. It's here on these links. So
Jorge.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. We have a couple of questions. The first one is about Docker. The question is Docker slower than native when it's installed under that condition?
Oh, well, that's a good question. For practical purposes, I'm gonna say that is not. It's marginal. I mean, yes, I guess technically it would be, but the benefits outweigh that. The thing about Docker is that it's using the same low-level resources of your machine. It's very different from a virtual machine. It's sharing the file system and the memory and the CPU from your machine as opposed to virtualizing a new computer. So it's a slightly different technology. So okay. Marginal difference.
Okay. And the other question that we had was, I believe it was about Docker, is even Apex 4.2 version is available in it? I guess
That's a good question. So yeah. The thing about Apex 4.2 is that it has a minimum database release of 11, I believe, if hopefully I'm not mistaken. So the problem is that you couldn't really have 18.2 at the same time as 4.2 because 18.2 requires the version 12 of the database as a minimum. So that's your problem. So the answer is yes, you could have Apex 4.2 along with maybe Apex 5 and 5.1. Those you can have together because they have that minimum version of the database. But you couldn't really add this one because your database wouldn't support it. Good questions.
Okay. Great, thank you.
And getting back to Twitter, so yeah, if you click on that, you can do the search for specific hashtag topics, even if you don't have a Twitter account. Now, if you're not interested in Twitter, you may know of Connor McDonald, one of the database advocates and the person that now takes care of asktom.oracle.com. He says, are you not interested in Twitter? He says, well, that's a problem. And I'm gonna play you just 50 seconds of this video.
It's a beautiful sunset here in Sydney, but let's not talk about the sunset. Let's talk about why you should be logging onto Twitter right now.
I know the video may be a little choppy, but listen just to the audio here for the next 20 seconds.
Some people hate it, some people love it. Some people just have a very healthy cynicism of the content on it. I've probably been in all three of those camps over the years, but now I'm actually a big fan of Twitter. The question is, why should you be on Twitter if you have a cynicism of what the actual content is on there? If you're an Oracle professional or you work with Oracle technology, and I think the same is probably true of other technologies as well, I think Twitter is probably a very important thing for you to be on, even if you never actually send a single tweet. The reason for that is Most of the large technology companies have strong bases in both the US, naturally, and in Europe. That's where probably most of their workforce work, most of the development occurs, most of the outgoing.
I'm going to leave it there as a teaser that it's 2 more minutes of video, but I'm not going to waste your time doing that. But he makes some good points as to why Twitter is a great thing. For us as Apex professionals, that's where we can get news, announcements, questions. We can even file bug reports and find a lot of entertainment. So news and announcements. This is way back from April, before 19.2 got released, and we were seeing that it was coming for this quarter. And sure enough, now we're on the we now have an ability to try out Apex 19.2. And I don't know Marjan here tweeting about this, but I was able to see it because he used the ORCL Apex hashtag. So I follow that hashtag. I read everything that's happening about ORCL Apex, so then I can find out what's going on. Now, early adopter, as I mentioned, is out, and this just happened September 13, not even 5 days or 5 days ago. We have the 19.2 early adopter is now available, and if you go to tryapexnow.com, that is a special instance where you can kick the tires and try all these really cool features like the faceted search and the enhanced pop-up LOV, which I think is going to be a fantastic addition to all apps and so on. Now, to find out what's beyond Apex 19.2, also back in April, here was a slide where Mike Hichwa is talking about things that we can probably expect on 19.2. Again, this is information that comes up on Twitter. Here's some quick examples of questions. Keegan is asking, how can I display the value of a donut chart slices? How can I display values? And Elizabeth chimed in with some explanations and even the code to get it done. Somebody starts asking questions here for UI changes, and then Shakib, which is part of the development team, chimed in on how to do the work. Bug reports, I find this amazing. Peter was seeing some problem, and sure enough, Dimitri's pointing him to what's going on. And in the end, yes, there's a small patch, and you're good afterwards to fix that. So if you start using Twitter a little bit more, the way Twitter works is you can follow people, right? Many of you already use it, and you probably follow me. And if not, I highly recommend you start following me so I can increase my accounts. But follow ORCL Apex blogs. This is a special account that retweets or tweets blog posts from different people in the community. This is a service that ODTUG provides for free to everybody that wants to get information. This is fabulous. This is how I get to find out all the blog posts that people are submitting on techniques and things to do with Apex. I think we have some question. Thank you for that. How to follow me. Yes. And you can get entertainment. It says here, you see, there's the problem. It's using last week's JavaScript framework. This whole thing is going to need to be overhauled. So that's the problem with JavaScript, right? Some of the libraries and frameworks in JavaScript, they don't last. And of course, this is a funny thing for Twitter and one of my favorite ones. I'll let you take it in from Apex memes. So there's some complicated frameworks, and well, there goes Apex, and you're like, ooh, I like Apex. All right. Where do you find answers as well? The other place to find answers is Oracle forums. There's a whole forum for Apex questions. And here you can see the questions, and you can see the ones with a checkbox. They have been answered. And there's a lot of activity in there as well. That is a better medium than Twitter. Twitter is good for very quick questions. Can I do this? Can I do that? Or quick guidance. But when you have a back and forth discussion or you're gonna need to share some code, then the forum is by far the best place. You may be a fan of Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is getting more and more questions from Apex, so you can visit Stack Overflow as well. And a huge resource for anybody that does Apex is apex.world. This is a free service, a free website where you get information from the forum, you get curated news of what's happening in the community on Apex, and you get some summaries of tweets from around the globe, really, of the community. The important thing here is going to be that you register. If you register, there's some benefits. Once you click on register, you're able to register for Slack. And I'm going to talk about Slack in a second. But you also may want to subscribe to the newsletter. I should mention that registration for Slack, there's no way to do it after the fact except for contacting someone and ask someone on Apex World and asking them to add you. So I highly recommend you do it from the beginning. And then the newsletter. Let me talk about Slack first. So Slack is a conversation chat technology, and it's organized, the Apex channel is organized by many different channels, if you will. So if you want to ask about JavaScript or mobile or words, here's you can ask, and lots of people are chiming in and answering questions. One thing to keep in mind on Slack, it's good for back and forth of lots of questions, but the history is lost fairly soon because we're using a free version of Slack, and without payment, you only have 10,000 messages. So whenever there's a new message, the oldest drops off from the history. That's something to keep in mind from Slack. I think we have other questions. Oh, thank you for that.
It was just, oh, right.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yep.
The newsletter, here's a long example of a newsletter. It's not the latest, but you can see how nicely personalized. You get information about what's happening, what's the latest, who might be the developer of the month, the top news and blog posts, and so on. So really nice curated messages. Now, podcasts, if you're into podcasts, and it's a fun thing to do when you have a commute or you go out for a walk, the talk show with Jürgen and Martin, and one of the new additions is Apex Now. Apex Now, it's very short, curated. The talk show is more about having a long conversation with someone and finding out about them. So lots of people have been on the talk shows, and I highly recommend both podcasts. And this other one, the low high, that one's taking a break, but there's some archive versions of that. That one's more of entertainment factor and less technical. Was there another question? Okay, we'll continue. So what do we do for reference? So I don't know if you know, but there's a special syntax in the URL. If you go to apex.oracle.com/doc and then a version, you get to the documentation for that version. So you can get to the documentation for Apex 4.2 by typing doc 442, or Apex 5.1 by doing 50, Apex 5.1 with the 51. And then with Apex 18, you just add the number as well, doc 18.1, 19.1, and so on. You click on those and you quickly go to the documentation section, and then you can go to whatever you need here. Now, what I really use most of the time is the API documentation, and that switch in 18.2, the way the documents are organized. See, if you're in 5.1, let me show you. I'm gonna go to 5.1. If I could click right here on API reference and very quickly get to the documentation for APIs. And then if I wanted to learn more about how to use Apex Util or one call from Apex Util, I would just click on it and find what I was looking for and click on it and get the parameters. Or let's say Apex collection. Here's the Apex collection. Maybe I wanted to create a collection from a query. I click on that, and very quickly I get to the documentation. So I love those links. Now, because there was a format change starting with 18.2, there's a new way to get directly to the API. You click, you do just /API, and that takes you straight to the API documentation for the latest version. This is the 19.1 API. Now, how did we know that that link was made available? Well, there was a tweet on Twitter. There was I was having a conversation with Joel Kalman, and we talked that, hey, it would be great if I could get to the API documentation by just doing a quick shortcut. And basically hours later, we got /API. Same for the certification. And all those got added to apexoracle.com/shortcuts. Well, that's, let me click on that. Which, by the way, it's almost like this whole session is about covering these shortcuts. If you go to apexoracle.com/shortcuts, you get this directory of all these interesting shortcuts that are available. Now, in June, JSAPI was added. This goes straight to the JavaScript APIs. And that's a slightly different format, but you can go here. If I go to Apex message, maybe I want to show my success messages. So I can get here and see what the format is for calling that. So how did we know that link was added on June 10? Well, you guessed it, Twitter. Sure enough, there was a tweet. Marco made the suggestion, and sure enough, it happened. Now, switching topics, let's talk about a reference to the universal theme. I love using this. I use it all the time. I go to apexoracle.com/UT, and that takes me to an application that gives me reference about the universal theme. But you know what I use every day, or just about every day? I go to the icons. This is a way to search the font Apex icons. And if I need a trash can, well, trash, I already know that I just type FA trash. So I can use this class, or if I need it as HTML, I can use this. How about if I type right, you can see that it's sort of smart, and it comes up with the pencil references. Now in here, you can do multiple things. You can go to the large version of the font, but you can also change the size. And if you notice, another class was added. Maybe you want something to you want it flip. Well, maybe not for the pencil, but you get the idea. You can rotate them. You can make it spin. Please don't do that for your edit links. Maybe you can make it spin in steps and so on. How about the shake? That's an interesting one. And those are the classes you're going to copy to use that. And there's modifiers as well. Maybe I want to add a check on it, and the check defaults to green, but what about informational? Maybe I'm going to put it with a blue for info, or maybe it's disabled in this option. I don't know. There's lots of permutations here that you can copy that and place it on your fields. So I use this a lot. But even if you don't want or cannot get to that link, you can install it on your own. That app is part of the sample applications, the productivity apps or sample applications. You install the universal theme sample applications, and you have it. You can have it locally in your own environment. Do the same reference. Oh, I should show you one more thing here. There's another useful one, the button builder. So here's the button, and I can say, well, I want it with an icon. And what's the icon? Maybe it's a delete button. So I'm gonna put on FA trash, sorry. I'm gonna change the style. Maybe it's a danger. I'm gonna make it simple. I'm gonna put my icon on the right, whatever you need. And here's a markup, the HTML markup that you could put on a report, for example, in an interactive report in the HTML expression field to get that button to show up. Or the classes, depending on what you need, you can copy whatever you need. So lots of goodies in that app. So we talk about using icons. Changing topics to more reference, the interactive grid. Marco Goricki has this fabulous repository on GitHub with a document that collects multiple references to how to do things with the interactive grid. And if you have something to add, because it's GitHub, you can do a pull request, or you can send suggestions or things to add to maintain it as good as it can be. There's also the Interactive Grid Cookbook. This website, this blog post by John Snyder's, they have information updated for 18.2, or if you're on 19.1, and this basically it's a large demonstration application with how to do many things with the interactive grid. It tells you about what's new and how to do things. This is an application you can download, install on your own, and look at how things are done. I highly recommend you take a look at those. This is a great link as well. Awesome ORCL Apex by Danny's son. Daniel Holchner is the person that maintains this. It's a great compilation of all things that may be awesome with Apex. In a way, a lot of this content could have been part of this presentation, if you will. Lots of references. Any questions? I'm gonna move to a new topic. Let's talk about the people that make Apex possible. So these are the faces of the people in the Apex team, all the people that make Apex possible, build it, manage it, code on it, and bring us that. And this team keeps growing. There's more and more. And guess what? What is fantastic is you can reach all of them, or almost all of them, on Twitter. They all have Twitter accounts. And when you post something with the ORCL Apex hashtag, many times you may get a response from them. Right now, while we've been testing 19.2, there's been some things that we found, or things that we believe are bugs. And we've had people from the team chime in and say, yep, thank you for reporting that. We're gonna look into that. And this list is updated as of right now. But as I mentioned, they're adding new members all the time. I talked about this link already, the shortcuts. Just pull it up for a second again. The documentation, a certification exam, Apex books, blog posts, information about the architecture, the Facebook group, the LinkedIn group, success stories, all sorts of information, the YouTube channel with more YouTubes to learn. So it's a wealth of information on that single link. Let me touch on the statement of direction. So now we have 19.2 in an early adopter version, but when this session was put together, it wasn't out, but this was the way we could see what's coming up. The statement of direction tells you what things are slated for the upcoming release. And I'm sure that after 19.2 gets released, this will be updated for 20.1. Wow, that sounds scary. So that's an interesting place to visit. This website has database features. It's an Apex application where you can check features and what version of the database supports the feature. This is not just Apex. You can see here the sub area is Apex, but there's many things here from Java, JSON, JDBC, PL/SQL, and so on. Really interesting website to check what's my minimum version, or when was a feature introduced. I'm talking about when things got introduced. This was more specific to Apex. This one's provided by our friends in Germany from MTAG. You click on that link, Apex Release Notes, bit.ly Apex Release Notes. And this is an Apex application with searchable release notes for what's been released in Apex. So if you want to see what released in all these versions of Apex, all the way back to Apex 1.6, sorry, that would be HTMLDB 1.6, all the way to Apex 19.1, you can click on those and just filter those results and see what bugs, features, and things got introduced. I love that website. For those that work with EBS integration, there's a brand new version in April that got updated. It's a white paper, it's a PDF with information about how to extend eBusiness Suite with Apex. And at this point, we can have more Q&A if you will. But also, these are clickable. So if you want to follow me or Jackie, just click on that Twitter link and you can get to see my information. Thank you for those new followers that follow me during the presentation. I think I saw something fly by.
So I'd like to invite everyone to put in your questions. Now is the question and answer period.
You're listening to Maze Runner. The cure for Apex confusion.
All right.
So I want to ask, if anybody thought this was useful and all the things that you think could be added. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, we had a couple of comments come in while you were playing that marvelous music that you made up, I suppose.
I did.
Sounds good. One of the comments is, any comments on the Oracle free tier?
Yes, I think that's fantastic. I wish I could have added something. That is, I think that free tier, for those that don't know, this week at Oracle Open World, there was a new tier announced for the cloud service it's called Free Forever. And you get 1 CPU of power and 20 gigabytes of space with Apex, with the power of the Oracle database to host it in the Oracle Cloud, and it's free. So to me, that's like having that version of Oracle XC, but now it's going to be patched and supported by Oracle in the Oracle Cloud. It's a small limitation, but it's a perfect way to get started. And if you need more space, then you move on to the next tiers. Yes, Mark.
Parallel to that, we had the comment, any mention of the new always free autonomous DB offering with Apex.
Yeah, same thing, kind of different names or different ways to call it. Thanks for asking. And
Jorge, have you tried already Oracle Cloud free tier with Apex?
I'm on the spot. No, I have not.
All right, that's all the comments we have. So, okay. Just wanted to understand if Apex is going to replace ADF and OAF. That's a really good question.
Well, I don't know if Oracle will say that that's the path, but I think the industry, from my biased point of view as a Apex consultant, is that that's happening naturally. I think more and more projects are adopting, more companies are adopting Apex, and more work is being done with Apex. So I think whether Oracle announces that or not, I think it's happening naturally. It makes sense. Now, if your core developers are Java developers, then no, it probably doesn't make sense for you to switch. you got to leverage the skills you have. But if you have forms developers or core Oracle developers that do PL SQL, then those that do form and do PL SQL, yeah, it makes a ton of sense to use Apex.
Okay. Any more questions?
I'm gonna reference really quick again the links from the beginning, and that will give you a reference to this presentation. But in addition to that, the recording of this session will be sent to you very soon. But you have those slides as a bookmark that you can use anytime. Thank you for attending. If there's no more questions, we'll just wait a couple more minutes or a few more minutes, but thank you very much for attending. I know you have many things you could be doing instead of listening to me ramble.
And while we're waiting for any additional final questions, I just want to announce that and cordially invite you to our next webinar, which is Who's Who in Apex, and that's presented by Oracle Ace Adrian Ping, and that'll be held Wednesday, September 25th, and we'll be sending out invitations to that, invitations to register to that tomorrow. And of course, we all hope you can join us for every single webinar and all the bunch of fantastically informative webinars we have lined up for you for the remainder of the year. And if you want to check out our full webinar calendar, it's online at insum.ca/resources/webinars. So please have a look, find the subjects that you like, and you'll get that invitation.
I wanted to do a little plug for Adrian's webinar as well. It is not about who's who as people. Is about authentication with lots of different methods. It's a very interesting webinar. When I first saw it, like, really, you're gonna kind of talk about the people of Apex? Like, no, he's not. He's not talking about the people from Apex. So just thought I mentioned that.
Yeah, it includes, he mentions that it includes, covers the fundamentals of managing access, and you'll be able to learn about modern frameworks like OAuth 2, SAML 2, SCIM, and others. So all about authentication within those frameworks on Apex. Okay. Just checking the questions again. Okay, one question is, what are the options for PDF printing in Oracle Apex?
PDF printing, there's several options, but I'm just gonna go straight to what I think is the best. The best solution today has been Apex Office Print, AOP for short. And if you go to, I'm trying to open the link here. Sorry, I don't have the link ready, but Apex Office Print is, or AOP, it's a tool that merges an Office document, can be Word or Excel or PowerPoint. It merges that template with your data and produces a PDF, but it can also produce the Word document. It can produce an Excel document. It can even produce PowerPoint documents. That is a powerful solution. And I believe now in 19.2, maybe 19.2, or there'll be a place in the Apex instance to actually configure the link to your Apex Office Print instance. It's a paid for product, but there's a free tier as well. So I highly recommend you look at that.
We have a comment that says that BIRT reporting is cool as well. I'm not familiar with that.
Okay. For other solutions, PLPDF is a way to code with PL SQL and come up with PDF documents. And I've used that solution. I like it for some solutions that need to be programmatically built, or you don't know what your end document might look like, or if you're filling out a pre-printed form, that might be a really good solution as well. So there's some solutions as well.
Okay, well, it really seems like we've come to the end of the questions, and I guess we can close up the webinar. And like Jorge said, a recording of this session will be made available to you. And on behalf of everybody here at InSum, we'd like to thank you for your time, and we really do hope to see you soon at the next webinar. And thank you, Jorge, very much for that informative presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Take care.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Maze Runner. The cure for Apex Confusion.
Goodbye, all.